Hi, my name is Eric Terry,
And I'm Eli Ortiz.
and we're the creators of HEXICA. In this video, we're going to show you how to play HEXICA. Let's get started.
To start with, let's go over some of the components you'll be using as you play the game. First up is the money used in the game, called credits. Credits are used to buy ships and cards and repair damaged ships. There are 4 denominations, 1, 2, 4, and 8.
Next are the dice. There are a total of 4 dice in HEXICA. 2 are 12-sided dice, or D12s. As you can see, one D12 is yellow, which corresponds to the columns on the map. The other D12 is purple, which is for the rows. During each player's turn, both of these dice will be rolled, which will determine a spot on the map to place a flag. The other 2 dice are used by players during combat. The red die is used to attack, and the blue die to defend.
Next up is the board. As Eric mentioned, each row and column is numbered, with 12 rows and 12 columns total. The starting spots on the map are also marked here, 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 and here. Then there's the remaining flag column, where flags are stored at the start of the game. As you can see, there are different increments on this section. The P stands for player. The less players you have in a game, the less flags you'll be using. If you're playing with only 2 players, for example, you'll only place 6 flags in the course of the game.
This section is the player's flag column. Once a player captures a flag, it is stored here. Once a player fills this column, the game is over and he or she wins. The only exception to this rule is in a 2-player game, where a player only needs 4 flags to win. The last thing to note on the board is the sections outlined here in white. These are called gas clusters, and they're the most valuable spots in the map. In a second, we'll show you how to use them.
Let's take a look at the ships now. There are a total of 6 ships in HEXICA. The first ship is called a harvester, and it's the main way of earning credits in the game. Each harvester collects 1 credit per turn. However, if you've got a harvester on a gas cluster, it collects double, or 2 credits per turn. So getting control of gas clusters early in the game is very important.
The next ship is called a salvager. Salvagers pick up stuff on the map. They're the only ships in HEXICA that can pick up and carry flags. Salvagers' other function is to pick up wreckage on the map, which is what is left over after ships get into battles and are destroyed. Picking up wreckage is the other main way to make money in the game.
There are 2 main attack ships in HEXICA. One is called an F-13 and the other is called an F-35. They essentially do the same thing, but the F-13 is faster and cheaper, although on the downside it is weaker and attacks for less damage than the F-35. Its attack range is also a lot less. Knowing how and when to use these 2 ships is essential for mastering HEXICA.
The next ship is called the Bandit, and it's the wild card of any fleet. When bandits attack enemy ships, they don't do damage. Rather, they take a chance at stealing the enemy ship. If successful, the attack ship is converted to the attacker's color. Although the chance of a successful capture isn't great, the psychological impact of having one of these cruising around an enemy's fleet is huge.
Finally, and most importantly, is the mothership. Your mothership is the strongest but slowest ship in the fleet, and it's where all other ships will start from once purchased. Motherships are also drop-off points for flags. Once a salvager carrying a flag moves to an open space adjacent to the mothership, the flag is captured and moves to the player's flag column. Alternately, a mothership can pick up flags or salvage wreckage on its own by moving over a space occupied by one of these things. The mothership isn't defenseless either. It's equipped with the strongest and farthest reaching attack of any ship, but it costs credits to use. Still, be sure to protect her. If your mothership is destroyed, it's game over. Not only that, all your flags, money, and cards go to the player who took you out.
Now that we've looked at how the ships work, let's talk about each ship's attributes. There are 5 total attributes: cost, health, speed, range, and attack. Cost is how many credits you need to pay to buy the ship. Health refers to the strength of a ship, or its HP. Once the damage on a ship exceeds this value, it's destroyed. The cost of a ship is always the same value as its health, so a harvester, which costs 2 credits to buy, also has 2 health.
The third attribute is speed. This is how far a ship can move during one turn. A salvager, for example, has a speed of 4, so that means it can move 4 spaces or less during a turn. An F-13, on the other hand, has a speed of 8, so it can almost cross the entire map in a single turn.
The fourth attribute is range. Range refers to how far away a ship can attack. The F-13 and Bandit have a range of 1, meaning they can only attack adjacent enemy ships. The F-35, on the other hand, has a range of 2, and the mothership has a range of 6, a truly terrifying thing.
The last attribute is attack. This refers to how much damage a ship does to its enemy. When a ship attacks, the player rolls the red die. If the roll is low, 1, 2, or 3, the attack is also low. But if the roll is high, 4, 5, or 6, the attack is also high. So each ship has a low and high attack. The F-13 has a low attack of 1 and high attack of 3, hence its name. The F-35 is either 3 or 5. The mothership attacks for 5 or 7. For the bandit, it's a little different. You either successfully capture the enemy ship, or you don't. You need to roll either a 1 or a 6 to capture. Any other number is a failed attempt. Another thing about attacking is that every ship has a defense. When a player is being attacked, he can roll the blue die. If he rolls a 1, the enemy's attack misses. Defending successfully is one of the most exciting parts of HEXICA. A lot of games come down to rolling a few of these at the right time.
The next component in HEXICA is the damage counters. These keep track of damage taken by ships throughout the game. There are 5 denominations. Blue is for 1 damage, green is for 2, yellow is for 3, red is 5, and black is 10. The white cubes are flags.
The last component in HEXICA is the Advanced Systems cards. Each player starts with 2 random cards, but more can be purchased throughout the game. There are 20 cards total, and they affect all sorts of things. There are 4 colors of cards, with each color representing a different aspect of gameplay. Green cards deal with the economic aspect. For example, Harvest Bounty, which doubles the money your harvesters make for 1 turn.
Yellow cards deal with how ships move. For example, Warp Systems allows you to instantly move 3 of your ships to any empty spots on the map. Blue cards are for defense. For example, Blocking Technology, which cancels the effect of any opponent's Advanced Systems card. Lastly are red cards, which are for attacking. My favorite is Sabotage, which allows you to deal 1 damage to any 10 enemy ships.
Alright, so now let's look at how the turns work in HEXICA. Each turn has 6 phases. That might sound like a lot to remember, but it's actually all very simple. First is the roll for a flag phase. In this phase, the player rolls the 2 D12s to determine a spot on the map. If this spot is empty, a flag is placed there.
Phase 2 is the credit bonus phase. The player rolls one of the 6-sided dice. The player can then collect the resulting number of credits from the bank.
Phase 3 is the harvester collection phase. You count up your harvesters and take the corresponding credits from the bank. Remember, a harvester on a gas cluster gets 2 credits per turn, but on any other space it's just 1 credit.
Phase 4 is the spend credits phase, where the player, spends his credits. You can do a few things during this phase, like buy some new ships, repair damaged ships, or buy 1 or more Advanced Systems cards.
Next is the movement phase, phase 5. In this phase you get to move your ships. You can move as many ships as you want in a turn, but each ship can only move once. As you can imagine, the game changes a lot during this phase for each player. Remember though, each ship has a different speed, so they can't all move the same distance during a turn.
Lastly is the attack phase. You can choose to attack with as many ships as you want per turn, but again, each ship can only attack 1 time per turn. A really important rule of HEXICA is that once a phase has started, previous phases cannot be returned to. So, for example, if a player has started attacking enemy ships, he cannot then move ships. Phases must be completed in sequence.
Alright, so we've just gone through a ton of information, but the best way to process it all is to actually see the game in action. Let's see how to set up everything. We'll keep it simple and show how a 2-player setup works.
At the start of a game, players start with 6 ships each: the mothership, 4 harvesters, and a salvager. These are all placed on one of the starting spaces. Players also get 2 random Advanced Systems cards, which they can decide when to use. It's best to try to formulate a general strategy according to the abilities on these cards. Similarly, an advanced player will study opponents' movements and then try to figure out their cards, which can give them a huge edge in the game.
Once the players have their ships stacked on the starting spots, they roll one of the D12s to see who goes first. The highest number always goes first, and the players then take turns clockwise. Then the first round begins. There are a few minor differences between this round and all subsequent rounds in the game. In round 1, players don't collect any money, so they can't buy any ships and thus have nothing to attack with. So really this round is just to get the first batch of flags on the board and move your ships into place for round 2.
Let's take a look at what round 2 might look like for these two players. Red is player 1. For his first phase, he rolls the d12s for a flag. The flag is placed. For phase 2, he rolls a d6 for a money bonus. The number is 4, so he collects 4 credits from the bank. Now, for phase 3, he collects his harvesting money. He moved all his harvesters onto gas clusters, which means he'll get a total of 8 credits for harvesting. Now he's got 12 credits to work with. Not bad.
For phase 4, the spending phase, the red player decides to boost his economy, so he buys 4 more harvesters. Harvesters cost 2 credits each, so that'll leave him with 4 credits. He'll spend those 4 on another salvager. All of these newly purchased ships are placed on top of the mothership and must leave this space during this turn. So during phase 5, the movement phase, Red decides to move his earlier harvesters to other gas clusters and to deploy the new harvesters on the old spaces. If he manages to keep these alive for the next round, he'll make a total of 16 credits, which is pretty huge in HEXICA. Red also moves his salvager to a different area of the map, in case a flag pops there, and he scoots his mothership south 1 space. Next is the attacking phase, but without any ships to attack with, player 1 can't really do anything, so his turn is over.
On to player 2, Blue. Blue rolls for a flag, then a credit bonus, then collects harvesting money, which is the same as Red, 8 credits. For the spending phase, Blue decides to go a slightly different route and decides to buy just 2 harvesters and get an attack ship, an F-13. For the movement phase, Blue also capitalizes on gas clusters, but decides to go after one of Red's harvesters, so he moves his F-13 to an adjacent space. Also, Blue is conveniently close to a flag, so he dispatches his salvager and brings the flag back. Salvagers have a speed of 4, so it has just enough spaces to grab the flag and bring it back 2 spaces. Then the mothership moves in 1 space and the flag is captured.
On to the attack phase. Having moved his F-13 in range of an enemy harvester, Blue rolls the red d6 1 time. The result is a 5, which means a high attack for his F-13, which deals 3 damage, but Red will try to defend this attack by rolling the blue d6. The result is a 4, so the defense isn't successful. Remember, harvesters only have 2 health, so after being attacked for 3 damage, this harvester is toast. When a ship is destroyed, it's flipped over. Remember, this can now be salvaged by either a mothership or a salvager from either team.
Let's move on to a new scenario now. This one's a little more complicated, and it involves 3 players, so let's analyze it for a second. First, at the top we see Red's fleet. It looks pretty intimidating. There are a couple F-35s, a few F-13s, and he's already managed to capture 4 flags. Player 3, Yellow, at the bottom of the map, also has a pretty good setup. She's got 4 flags too, and it's a pretty big fleet. Player 2, Green, on the other hand, seems to be in the least ideal position. With only 1 flag and a tiny fleet, things aren't looking good. But let's see how it plays out.
Remember, when a mothership is taken out, everything in the player's hand goes to the destroyer, including flags. So at this point, if anyone takes anyone else out, the game is over. It's Red's turn. He rolls for a money bonus. 1 credit. Not much help. But at least he gets to collect his harvesting money.
Not quite. Player 3 decides to use a green systems card. The card is called Malfunction. This card can be played during an opponent's harvesting phase and prevents them from collecting this money. That means Red only has 1 credit to spend this turn. That's not enough to buy anything, but since Red's mothership has some damage, he'll use this credit to repair. 1 credit removes 1 damage, so the ship goes from having 3 damage to having 2. Next is the movement phase. Since Red still has quite a few attacking ships and he's not too far from Yellow, he's going to go for her mothership. She's already got 10 damage, meaning he'll have to do 10 more to take her out. It's doable with his fleet, so he moves into position.
Remember, F-35s, the big fighters, have a range of 2, so they don't need to be right next to the mothership to attack it. F-13s, on the other hand, do. Fortunately for Red, all ships have enough speed to get into the right spaces. Red attacks with his small fighters first. The first attack is low, 1 damage. Yellow rolls the blue die to defend, but doesn't roll a 1, so the attack hits. 11 damage total. Red attacks with the next F13. Another low attack. Yellow's defense fails again. 12 damage. A third attack from the final F13. And this one is high for 3 damage. Again, Yellow doesn't defend successfully. That means Yellow's mothership has a total of 15 damage, and it's not looking too good for her.
Red attacks now with one of the big ships, the F-35s. The first attack is low, for 3 damage. And again, Yellow doesn't defend successfully. Her mothership now has 18 damage, with only 2 remaining health. No matter what this last ship rolls, if she doesn't defend successfully, she's done for, and Red wins the game. And the last roll is high, for 5 damage, and Yellow rolls a 1. The attack misses, and Yellow's mothership is still alive.
With Red's turn over, the turn goes to player 2, Green. Green rolls for a money bonus. Then Green collects harvesting money, in this case another 6 credits. Now Green has to figure out how to spend this. He decides to buy an F-35, which seems like a strange move since it's too far away to do any good.
But suddenly, Green reveals his last systems card, Warp Systems. This allows him to warp any 3 of his ships to any empty spaces. He warps over the big fighter he just bought next to Yellow's mothership. With no other useful ships, he'll just warp this one big guy and hope for the best.
Green rolls for his F-35's attack. 6, a high attack worth 5 damage. Yellow rolls the blue die, and fails to defend. Her mothership is destroyed and her flags, money, and remaining card go to Green. Since Green already had 1 flag, he now has a total of 5 flags and wins the game.